Okay, it's my turn to ask Dr. Jackson a question. This is a question sent in by Ms. Madden's group at Finland Park School. And we've answered lots of other questions. There's one particular one that I think is appropriate to ask Roy. In his book, Phaedo, Plato explains his theory of the soul. And Plato explains that there are opposites for everything in the world. Without death, there would be no life. And the like. But, and this is the question from the student, but if we live forever, because the soul is eternal, does this theory not make sense?
Right, okay, it's a very good question. And I think to some extent we might get a little bit confused by what the Greek understanding of the soul was and how we...
I'm confused, yeah.
But perhaps the best way of understanding the soul is like as a life force, as an emanating force. I mean, the word anime. So maybe a good way of seeing this is, in a way, Plato is making a distinction between an object and the properties of an object. So, for example, a clear example here. If I say that an object is like a human being, a human being has opposites, and one opposite could be health and sickness. So there's the two aspects of a human being has. So they're obviously direct opposites. Now, however, the property of sickness itself is just sickness.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Yes, I mean the very nature of sickness is to be sick, and health is the opposite of that. So although the human being has these opposites, there are within the human being these properties that in themselves do not
what they are.
They are. So this what Socrates in Phaedo seems to be saying here in terms of the soul. He's saying, in actual fact, he's concerned more with the soul not as an object that has opposites, but really as what a soul is, which is life force. And if that's what it is, it's like then death is not a property of it, because it's a property in itself. So to that extent, it does make some sense.
Yeah. But is there a sense in the kind of Platonic understanding of the soul that the soul, or this anime, could exist without a body? Or does it always have to animate something? Thinking of it in those terms.
Well, yes, but it exists without a body in a very different sense, I think. This is where it does become very...
Is that when it kind of pre-exists?
Yes.
As well as post-exists body?
Exactly. So the bodily being housed in the body is a temporary state, which may occur over a number of lifetimes. But originally it was not part of or housed within a body, and eventually, as long as you pursue the rule of philosophy,
wisdom,
it'll be released from that and return to the realm of the forms in this way.
So that understanding of the soul, partly as you said due to translation, it being, is quite different from the view that we get, say, in conventional Christianity or within different religions. The soul isn't something we can easily just compare between different traditions and say they have different answers to the same questions.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that all religious traditions have struggled with when reading Plato, and how do you fit it in with theological understandings of the soul. It doesn't always fit particularly comfortably, I think.
No, absolutely. You can see those traditions in Christianity are more influenced by Platonic reading of the soul, and those that are less so, I guess.
That's right, yes.
So it's kind of influential, but not definitive in the only way of viewing it.
No, I mean, that's why I said in some ways the word soul perhaps is not even the best translation here, really. I think it wouldn't be understood in that way, I think. So that's why the idea of animating something, giving it life.
Yeah, I think that idea of life force is much more sort of compelling as well. It kind of gets across the idea of something being, some objects are just dead and immobile, and others have this kind of animated force.
That's right, which was a key question amongst the Greeks, was how do things move? I mean, how do they come to life?
Where do we get motion? In a world full of stones and immobile objects, why some of them possess something very different, a quality.
Yes.
That's really helpful.
Okay.
It takes us quite a long way, I hope, toward answering that question.